Thank you all for listening and watching my videos. Please subscribe and like my channel Master Coolits. Hoping that you will not skip my ads. It's a big help for me by not skipping it. Thank you so much. Dragon Shadow. The Rise.
Zane Martell felt the tension mounting. His heart pounded like a war drum, echoing the urgency in his mind. The air around him seemed to thicken, suffocating with an invisible pressure that threatened to crush his resolve. Every instinct screamed that it was time to make a swift exit. This mission had pushed them to the brink, and now survival was paramount.
Senior Gabriel Stone, Caleb Pierce, our mission's accomplished. We need to retreat now.
Just as Zane Martell prepared to leave with Gabriel Stone and Caleb Pierce, a cold, menacing voice echoed from the void. It sliced through the tension like a blade, freezing them in their tracks and sending a chill down their spines.
Leaving so soon after killing an elder of the expert level from the Godwill sect. How naive.
The void twisted, revealing an old man in his 80s, flanked by a middle-aged man and woman, all exuding a dangerous aura. Their presence was like a dark storm cloud descending upon the battlefield. This was Sebastian, the formidable first elder of the Godwill sect. His eyes were cold, calculating, and his very presence demanded submission.
Ah, Stephen of Darkwolf Hall, first place in the latest sect contest. Too bad you didn't use your brains before crossing my sect.
Zane Martell could feel the overwhelming power radiating from Sebastian. It was a suffocating force, a palpable energy that seemed to press down on him, making it hard to breathe. Even the other expert-level practitioners seemed wary, their expressions shifting to ones of fear and respect. The gravity of their situation became painfully clear. This was no ordinary opponent.
Gabriel Stone, it's been a while, heard you were released. Thought you'd run far away. Guess I was wrong.
Sebastian, why run? I won't leave until I retrieve my actual body.
Zane Martell was stunned. The powerful Sebastian was the one who ordered Alora's abduction. The revelation hit him like a punch to the gut, adding a personal vendetta to the already perilous situation. Anger flared in his chest, but he had to stay focused.
Did you kill Beth? Do you know what she means to me?
I killed her.
Sebastian's rage was palpable. It radiated off him in waves, his face contorting with fury. The atmosphere crackled with his anger, a dangerous energy that promised destruction. His eyes burned with a deadly fire, promising retribution.
What's the hatred between you and Beth? She was my confidant. Now you and everyone you know will be hunted down by the Godwill sect.
She was the Purple Pole's spiritual body.
Sebastian's face twisted in disbelief and fury. His eyes widened, then narrowed into slits of pure rage. The revelation seemed to push him beyond the brink of sanity.
Purple Pole's spiritual body. Do you know how much effort I spent to find her? You must die.
Sebastian's powerful strike twisted the void, aiming to obliterate Zane Martell. But a clear buzzing sound cut through the air, like the sharp note of a war cry. Gabriel Stone's sword unleashed an earth-shattering energy, splitting Sebastian's attack in two. The crowd was stunned by Gabriel Stone's incredible strength. Gasps and whispers filled the air as the onlookers tried to comprehend what they had just witnessed.
Gabriel Stone, this isn't your fight. Leave now or you'll die too.
Our grudge runs deep, Sebastian. I'll ruin everything for the Godwill sect. Come on, fight me if you dare.
Sebastian hesitated, clearly fearful of Gabriel Stone. The hesitation was brief, but it was enough to reveal the cracks in his confidence. He then directed his followers with a commanding tone that brooked no dissent.
Laura, Kevin Young, kill Stephen and his companion.
The two expert-level practitioners flew toward Zane Martell. Their movements were swift, precise, and deadly. Gabriel Stone moved to intervene, but Sebastian blocked him, their confrontation resuming with renewed intensity.
Your enemy is me. You won't stop them.
Sebastian unleashed a black fire lotus, bombarding Gabriel Stone, who resisted with his sword key. The clash of energies was violent, shaking the ground and sending shockwaves through the air. Meanwhile, Kevin Young and Laura closed in on Zane Martell and Caleb Pierce. Their expressions were predatory, their eyes gleaming with malicious intent.
Stephen, no one can protect you now. Surrender and die comfortably.
Old man, fight me and stop spewing nonsense.
Still stubborn, I'll torture you until you beg for death.
Kevin Young's body shimmered with a purple, sizzling smoke. The air around him seemed to sizzle with toxicity, a visible manifestation of the deadly poison he wielded. The crowd recoiled in horror, recognizing the lethal danger.
Poison fog. The Godwill sect's poison cultivation is deadly. Stephen is doomed.
With enemies closing in and the air thick with danger, Zane Martell's fate hung by a thread. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown to doom. Could he and his companions survive this deadly encounter? The answer remained shrouded in the unfolding chaos. The scene was a tableau of impending disaster, every second a precarious balance between life and death. Zane's mind raced, calculating their dwindling options. His body tensed, ready to fight or flee at a moment's notice. Gabriel Stone's focus was unyielding, his sword poised to strike again. The tension was a living thing, wrapping around them like a vice. Every breath Zane took felt heavy, laden with the weight of their predicament. His thoughts flickered to Laura, the reason they were in this mess. Her face, her plea for help, everything that had led to this moment flashed before his eyes. He couldn't fail her. Not now, not ever. Caleb Pierce's eyes darted around, searching for any possible escape. His hands trembled slightly, but his resolve was clear. They would fight to the last breath. The battlefield was a swirling maelstrom of danger and desperation. The oppressive aura of the Godwill sect's elders pressed down on them, making each movement feel sluggish, as if they were wading through quicksand. The oppressive atmosphere seemed to mock their struggle, a constant reminder of the overwhelming odds against them. Zane could see the fear in Caleb's eyes, mirrored in his own. But within that fear was a spark of defiance, a refusal to surrender to fate. Zane's thoughts raced, a whirlwind of strategies and outcomes. He knew they were outmatched, but giving up was not an option. He could almost hear Alora's voice urging him on, a ghostly whisper in the chaos. The memory of her abduction was a fresh wound, fueling his determination. He had to save her. He had to end this nightmare. Gabriel Stone's laughter rang out again, a bold defiance in the face of overwhelming power. His sword gleamed with an otherworldly light, a beacon of hope amidst the darkness. Zane took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. The path ahead was treacherous, but he had to move forward. Each step felt like an eternity, the ground beneath his feet seeming to shift and tremble. The air was thick with anticipation, every eye watching their next move. The Godwill sect's followers closed in, their expressions hungry for blood. Laura's eyes were cold, calculating. She moved with a predator's grace, every step measured and deadly. Her gaze locked onto Caleb, a silent promise of violence. Caleb met her stare with a fierce determination, his fists clenched, ready to fight. Kevin Young's poison fog swirled around him, a malevolent cloud that seemed to pulse with its own life. He took a step closer, his eyes never leaving Zane. The air crackled with tension, each second stretching into an eternity. Zane's mind raced, searching for a way to turn the tide. He couldn't afford to make a mistake. Not here, not now. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him, a crushing burden that he bore with grim determination. The memory of Elora's abduction was a constant, gnawing pain. He had to save her. He had to protect his friends, no matter the cost. The battlefield was a chaotic swirl of movement and sound. In the dimly lit cavern, the air buzzed with the sound of wings. Desperation filled the hearts of the trapped miners. The oppressive atmosphere, thick with the scent of sweat and fear, made every breath a struggle. Shadows danced on the cavern walls, flickering ominously as the miners huddled together, their faces pale with dread. Each flutter of wings seemed louder than the last, a constant reminder of their peril.
Yes, 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 great general, we're counting on you. Yes, you must save us.
Ethan Gale stood tall, basking in the admiration of the desperate miners. He had always enjoyed the spotlight, the feeling of being their last hope in these dire situations. The glow of the torches reflected off his determined eyes, a confident smirk playing on his lips.
Ha ha ha, no problem. Take a step back. I will handle this.
With a flourish, Ethan Gale pulled out a massive silver bell from his spirit cultivation ring, its surface adorned with intricate carvings of fish, insects, birds, and beasts. The moment he revealed it, the bell lit up, trapping all the demonic insects inside. The intricate design seemed to come alive, glowing with an eerie light as the bell activated.
Explode.
A deafening sound echoed through the mine as flames burst from within the bell. enveloping the demonic insects. The heat was intense, causing the air to shimmer and distort. The miners shielded their eyes from the blinding light, their hopes pinned on Ethan's confident display of power.
Great General, this demonic insect is not afraid of fire.
Miller's warning fell on deaf ears as Ethan Gale, full of confidence, waved him off.
There are no demonic insects in this world who are not afraid of fire. You think so because you are not as capable as me. My 4th grade genuine energy artifact, Flaming Scorching Bell, contains the power of fire. How can it be compared with your small flame?
The crowd's hope was rekindled as the demonic insects began to scream within the bell. Their shrill cries echoed off the cavern walls, mixing with the crackling of the flames. The eerie symphony of terror and destruction seemed to momentarily uplift the spirits of the miners, who dared to believe in their imminent salvation.
It's effective.
Even Miller's eyes lit up, but Zane Martell, standing in the shadows, remained skeptical. His keen eyes narrowed as he watched the scene unfold, not trusting the apparent success.
I don't think it's possible. How can the power of fire kill the demonic insects?
His words irked Ethan Gale, who sneered in response. The miners' faith in Ethan's power was palpable, but Zane's doubt cast a shadow on their relief.
You're just saying that because you're a good-for-nothing. You must be scared just now. Well, you're just a free warrior. What ability do you have? You sneaked in, didn't you?
I think so. Yes, shut up if you know nothing.
Unfazed, Zane Martell's gaze pierced through the scorching hell bell, revealing the reality within. Despite the flames, the demonic insects flapped their wings vigorously, their numbers undiminished. The heat inside the bell was fierce, yet the insects seemed almost impervious to the flames, their tough exoskeletons glistening in the firelight. 10 minutes later, the crowd's excitement turned to confusion as the bell began to crack. Fine hairline fractures spread across its surface, growing larger with each passing second. An eerie silence fell over the cavern, anticipation hanging in the air. With a resounding boom, the bell exploded, releasing the furious demonic insects.
What's going on? Great General, didn't you say you took care of it?
That's impossible. My scorching hell bell contains the power of fire. How could the demonic insects not die? Since the flames can't work, I'll cut them into pieces.
With a fierce resolve, Ethan Gale drew a majestic saber and charged at the swarm. The blade glinted menacingly in the dim light, its sharp edge promising swift justice. The miners watched in awe and fear, their fate again hanging in the balance.
8 ghostly blades.
The saber flashed rapidly, but the sharp blades bounced off the demonic insect's black shells. Ethan Gale's frustration grew as his attacks proved ineffective. The swarm grew larger, filling the tunnel with their menacing buzz. The air was thick with the scent of burning exoskeletons and the metallic tang of the bell's remains. The miners' hope began to wane, replaced by the gnawing dread of impending doom.
Save me. Damn it, get out of my way.
Amid the chaos, Zane Martell stood still, the demonic insects strangely avoiding him. Their buzzing wings created a cacophony that drowned out the miners' cries for help. The creatures seemed to sense something different about Zane, as if an invisible barrier kept them at bay.
Damn it! Does anyone here have a solution? Hurry up and think of a way! I will give you the vital essence elixir!
Zane Martell smiled, his moment of opportunity finally at hand. He had been waiting for this, knowing his chance to reveal his true power would come.
My lord, I have a way to deal with these demonic insects, but I want 5 vital essence elixirs of top quality.
Gasps of shock filled the cavern. 5 of top quality? The demand was outrageous. They exchanged bewildered glances, unable to fathom such a steep price.
Humph, can you take care of the demonic insects? If you can, I will spell my name backwards.
Ethan seems, but Zane remained unruffled, his confidence unwavering.
Believe it or not, but that is the price. My lord, it's up to you to decide.
Miller's face torted in desperation, realizing he had no choice.
Okay, I'll give you 5 of them of top quality. I'll promise you anything as long as you can do it.
With a nod, Zane Martell retrieved an egg from his storage ring. Though small, the egg emanated a soft glow, hinting at its immense power. The miners watched in awe, their curiosity piqued by the mysterious artifact. Pulling out the piston, Zane commanded,
Enter.
The egg emitted a faint light, and miraculously, the demonic insects swarmed into it, drawn as if by an invisible force. The cavern fell silent as Zane Martel secured the egg, capturing all 30,000 demonic insects. The silence was almost deafening after the chaos, the miners too stunned to speak. The reality of what they had just witnessed slowly sank in. Everyone was stupefied. Could the well-known demonic bug be this easy to deal with? Could the egg be magical? Of course not. The real reason was that these 30,000 demonic insects were Zane Martel's verdant frogs. In other words, the so-called horrible demonic insects were Zane Martel's pets. He had deliberately placed them here. The miner's eyes widened in realization, the weight of the truth sinking in. Other than the mining veins that stretched for thousands of kilometers, where else could he find so much ore and iron to feed so many verdant frogs? The miners exchanged uneasy glances, the implications of Zane's actions becoming clear. As the crowd realized the implications, their shock turned to unease. What other secrets did Zane Martel hold? What was his true motive in orchestrating this dangerous game? The atmosphere grew tense, the miners unsure of what to expect next. The air was thick with tension and unspoken questions, as the darkness of the mine seemed to close in, leaving everyone on edge, wondering what would happen next. The uncertainty hung heavy in the air, each miner lost in their own thoughts, contemplating the potential dangers ahead. The group stood in stunned silence. Zane Martel had effortlessly dealt with all the verdant frogs, creatures they once despised and feared. Each one of them, once a formidable opponent, now lay vanquished by his hand. The ground was littered with their lifeless bodies, their green forms now a stark reminder of their former menace. These creatures, known for their resilience and ferocity, had terrorized the group for so long. The sight of their defeated forms was almost surreal.
That's it? Are you sure you dealt with them all?
Miller's voice echoed the disbelief in his heart. He couldn't believe his eyes, expecting a fierce battle. Instead, it was over in a flash, almost too easy. He had envisioned a scenario fraught with peril, a fight that would have them on the edge of death. He remembered the countless nights spent strategizing, the endless discussions about countering the verdant frog's lethal attacks. Yet here they were, with Zane standing tall and victorious. It seemed impossible that such a feared adversary could be dispatched so quickly and with such apparent ease. The group exchanged glances, each face mirroring the shock and confusion of the others. They had prepared for the worst, their minds filled with visions of a protracted and bloody conflict. Now, in the eerie silence that followed the swift battle, they struggled to reconcile their expectations with the reality before them.
Of course not. Wait for me. I'll go around and collect all the other demonic insects.
With a swift motion, Zane Martel disappeared into the depths of the mining vein. His movements were fluid and confident, leaving the onlookers in awe. He easily navigated the dark, twisting corridors, his senses alert to the slightest sound. 10 minutes later, he discovered a piece of golden soil, the magic soil given by Allura. Unlike ordinary soil, it accelerated the growth of spiritual plants tenfold. This was the key to his rapid success with the verdant frogs. Zane crouched down, his fingers sifting through the rich golden soil. He recalled Allura's words when she handed it to him. This soil has the power to transform any seed into a formidable force. He had used it wisely, planting the seeds of the verdant frogs and nurturing them to maturity at an astonishing rate. This was his secret weapon, the unseen force behind his triumph.
Ha 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 ha. They wouldn't have guessed I'd leave the bug here. I thought this mining vein would be great for the verdant frogs. The vital essence elixir will be mine.
Zane's laughter echoed through the mining vein. The adult verdant frogs returned to the magic soil, transforming into seeds, creating an endless cycle. Even Zane Martel couldn't control these creatures without prior agreement with them. This symbiotic relationship he had established was the key to his dominance. In return for their rapid growth and propagation, the verdant frogs offered him the power he needed to secure the vital essence elixir. Returning to the group, Zane Martel spread his hands, displaying an almost unnerving calm confidence. He looked at each of them in turn, his eyes challenging anyone to question his methods.
My lord, you won't go back on what you promised me, will you?
He referred to the 5 bottles of vital essence elixir and 500,000 crystals, his voice dripping with a mix of certainty and a subtle threat. His words hung in the air, a reminder of the deal they had struck and the price of breaking it. Miller's hesitation was palpable. He was torn between gratitude and the sting of the price he had to pay. The promise of the vital essence elixir had seemed fair at the time, but now, seeing the ease with which Zane had handled the threat, it felt like an exorbitant cost.
Do you think it's too much? I can ask for less.
Really?
But Zane Martel's next words shattered his hope like glass.
Give me half, and I'll release half of the demonic insects. I can't make a money-losing deal.
Miller cursed internally, realizing he had no choice. The realization hit him hard. He was cornered with no escape. The thought of going back on his word and facing Zane's wrath was too much to bear. Reluctantly, he handed over 5 jade bottles and 500,000 crystals, each crystal a reminder of the heavy cost of their agreement. Zane Martel inspected them, his eyes brightening at the pure vital essence elixir. This elixir was rare and precious, capable of enhancing one's strength significantly. It was the prize he had fought for and now held in his hands.
Nice working with you, my lord. I'll take my leave first.
As Zane walked out, the atmosphere shifted. The tension in the air was palpable, a mix of frustration, anger, and helplessness. Ethan Gale and several disciples from the Godwill sect fumed, their anger almost tangible. They had been watching from the sidelines, their resentment growing with each passing moment. To see Zane walk away with the vital essence elixirs was more than they could stand.
That's ridiculous. Those vital essence elixirs should be mine. You're dead meat.
Ethan's outburst was the spark that ignited the simmering anger of his followers. They had long envied Zane's prowess and the rewards he reaped from it. This was their chance to reclaim what they believed was rightfully theirs.
Of course not, Senior Brother Ethan. We can't let him walk away with our vital essence elixir.
Yes, we'll take it back.
They followed Zane Martel out of the mine, their footsteps echoing with determination and resentment. Each step they took was filled with resolve, their minds set on confronting Zane and taking back the elixirs. On the desolate main street of Yellow Rock City, Zane Martel halted abruptly. The silence of the deserted street was broken by the sound of their pursuit.
Who's following me? Do you have nothing to do? Stop following me.
The void distorted, revealing the fuming Godwill sect disciples, their faces contorted with anger and frustration, their eyes burned with indignation, and their hands itched to draw their weapons.
Larry Shaw, how did you know we were following you?
Nonsense. I can smell you dogs 1,000 miles away.
Zane's words were laced with mockery, his confidence unshaken. He had dealt with worse threats and emerged victorious every time. This was no different.
Hand over the vital essence elixir and the crystals, or you'll be moaning on this day next year.
Ethan's threat hung in the air, a challenge that demanded a response. He was banking on the strength of his numbers, confident that they could overpower Zane.
Based on what? Even David Sullivan doesn't dare to act so presumptuously in front of me. Do you think you have the strength to do so?
David Sullivan, a disciple of the Zan sect, had only survived because he surrendered to Zane Martel. The disciples worshipped him, unaware of the true story. David's tale of his encounter with Zane had become legendary, but the truth was far less flattering. He had capitulated in the face of Zane's overwhelming power, a fact he conveniently omitted when recounting the story.
Ha 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 ha! How dare you compare yourself to senior brother David Sullivan? Shame on you.
The disciples' sneer was filled with derision. They couldn't fathom anyone challenging David's account, much less equating themselves to him.
Enough! Kill him and take his belongings.
His subordinates attacked. There was gleaming in the harsh light. The first wave of attacks engulfed Zane Martel, but he stood unfazed. The disciples' movements were swift and coordinated, honed by years of training, but Zane was prepared, his stance unyielding.
What an idiot. He's dead meat.
Ethan Gale moved to search Zane Martel's body, but a silver hand emerged from the smoke. It was Zane Martel, his body emitting a faint silver glow, an invincible sense of oppression emanating from him. In the past 6 months, he had cultivated the silver body, vastly enhancing his physical abilities. He stood there, a pillar of strength, unyielding and unstoppable. His training had paid off, transforming his body into a fortress that could withstand even the most powerful attacks.
Is this your strength? How laughable.
With a single motion, he grabbed Ethan Gale's neck and snapped it. The sound of bones breaking echoed in the silence, a grim testament to Zane's power. Ethan Gale's lifeless body fell to the ground, leaving the others in shock and fear. They had underestimated Zane, and now they faced the consequences. What will Zane Martell do next, and who else might stand in his way?